So you may be asked what is interactions in Power BI, or maybe the question will framed a little bit differently. Maybe you will ask that I have a slicer 1 and bar 1 and slicer 2 and bar 2. So slicer 1 should only filter bar 1 and slicer 2 should only filter bar 2. There could be few ways where this question could be framed. The ultimate objective here is how do we control the interaction between two Power BI elements, especially visuals. So interaction is the feature in Power BI which allows you to change the interaction between the two elements, visuals or slicers, so that you can change the behavior. So the behavior could be cross filtering. So cross filtering means if you click on something on the first visual, the other visual will get filtered. Slicer typically have the cross filtering behaviors. If select something on the slicer, all other visual will get filtered. So then you have cross highlighting. Now cross highlighting, it means the, instead of a value getting selected into the other visual, it will get highlight or fill. It happens typically when the second visual, the visual where we are looking at this, is a bar visual or is a pie visual. Cross highlighting is not supported in all kind of visual. That it cannot happen on a table visual or a matrix visual. Now no interaction could also be one option where you switch off interaction between two visuals and they are not interacting each other. So let's say you don't want to apply a slicer value to a set of visuals, or you don't want one visual to filter the another visual, you can switch off the interaction between these two visuals. So these are the three ways you can control the interaction between the various elements of Power BI. So let's go ahead on the Power BI and check how can we achieve this. So let me add a page here and let me quickly add a brand and convert it into a slicer, and then we copy paste and convert it into another slicer. Now let me bring in category here as one of the visual, and along with category let me have net. I'll bring in, I'll copy and I'll bring in another visual which say, let's say a bar visual, and in this visual let's say I bring in brand. Now if I filter here, you can see there's something which is getting highlighted because this is selected as highlight. Now how did I get these options? How do I see this? So if you select any visual, you can go to the format and you can enable the edit interaction. So once you enable the edit interaction, you will be able to see how these interactions are going to come in. Now I'll remove the slicer values. Now if I click category here, and you can see I can do highlight. Now highlight is option which is supported on visuals like bar and pie. Now because if I go here and let's say if I do this thing, you can see it is getting filtered because the only option you have here is the filter. You don't have a highlight option here. So we have highlight, we have filter, and we have no interaction. So if I say no interaction, let's say, and there is a driver chart. So I click on whatever chart I click in, that becomes a driver, and I can disable the interaction for other charts. So if I click here now, the other charts, at least this chart is not interacting. Now similarly, if you want to divide it into two portions, what you're going to do is you will click on this slicer, disable and disable. Now you click on this visual and you say, okay, this part should not be interacting. Same way you click on this and you say disable, disable. You click on this and you say disable and disable. Now this portion is changing this visual, portion is interacting this one. So in this manner, you can enable and disable interaction or change it to highlight depending on what you need. So cross filtering, cross highlighting, and none. You can choose those options and let your visual interact with each other. Edit interaction under the format is the option which is going to control it. And this is known as interactions or edit interactions in Power BI.